Welcome back to What You Will Learn. My name is Adam Ashton.
Merhaba, merhaba, merhaba. My name is Adam Jones. Today we're reviewing A Guide to the Good Life, the Ancient Art of Stoic Joy.
William B. Irvine is the author, A Guide to the Good Life. So it was a good book.
Really good.
So it's basically this William B. Irvine has learnt a whole bunch and studied a whole bunch of Stoic philosophers and put it together to a much more easily digestible New Age version that we can apply to our lives of the art of Stoicism.
That's right.
Yeah.
So before reading this, I probably wasn't that into philosophy until reading this book. He kind of sells the why you should have a philosophy really well, and then by the end of it, there's some really good stuff I think in Stoicism you can apply to your life straight away.
Yeah, having said that, I'm still probably... I just think it's the word philosophy. It seems wanky, doesn't it?
Like spiritual, man.
Yeah, like spiritual.
Those two words, they're fucking...
Negative connotations.
Yeah.
But it's legit. It's legit stuff.
Yeah, it's a really good book.
Yeah.
Yeah. So...
Do you want to get into the intro?
Yeah, we'll get into it. So it has how many parts? It got
4 parts.
4 parts.
So it's sort of like a history of Stoicism, which we'll skip because whilst it's interesting, probably not too relevant.
It's pretty boring, that part.
Yeah. And then it's part 2 is the psychological techniques. Part 3 is advice for specific parts of life. Yep. And then part 4 is, I guess, how you can apply it to modern life.
Yep. So as an introduction to the book, he says a plan for living. So he asks the question, what do you want out of life? And most people say a car or a job, a hot wife.
Yeah.
But these are the things you want in your life. So he asks, he asks, what do you want out of life? And this is a question about your grand goal in living, and that's what a lot of people really don't think about or know the answer to.
Yeah, definitely. And by not having that grand goal, there's always a danger that you're going to mislive. So he says you want to have a good life, but the danger is that you mislive. So, and that would obviously be living a bad life. It's when you get to the end, you look back and you think that you wasted your one and only chance of living.
That's right. So he says our evolutionary biology, so what our default switch is to not have a philosophy, as our biology makes us seek out what feels good and we'll avoid what feels bad. And by doing this, we'll live a comfortable life, or actually perhaps one filled with just pleasure. Whereas like this philosophy, so with Stoicism, it's a lot about using reason to question what your evolutionary default biology wants to do, questioning that, and then coming up with better approaches to some problems or some things in life. So that's what the book is all about, is using reason to question why we do things and come up with better solutions.
Yeah, sick. One thing I liked is that he says this book is about practical philosophy as opposed to academic philosophy. So I think the academic philosophy is the wanky sort of philosophy we're referring to.
Yeah, that's right.
The other part of the intro, he says that 2 things are required. 1 is to create your grand goal in living, and then 2 is coming up with an effective strategy for attaining that goal. Yep. So that's, I guess, what the book's centered around.
Yep, bang on. So, yeah, the cost of not having a philosophy, he says at the start, is much higher. So he kind of sells the whole idea, and then part 1 is, as you were saying, a lot of the boring stuff, bit of history of philosophy, but part 2, fucking phenomenal. Yeah,
and it starts off with a bang with chapter 4, negative visualization. What's the worst that can happen?
Yeah.
And so it's all about looking, or I guess during every day, thinking about bad things that could happen. Is that right?
That's right. So on the surface, this appears to be like something negative. Like, why would you think, why would you think about dying, or how your friend might die, or your girlfriend will dump you, and things like that. But yeah, so thinking about that, what tends to happen is, say if you think about your own mortality or about how you are going to die, you're going to really appreciate what you have at the moment, because you realise there is a risk of losing it.
Yeah, spot on. So 3 of the big benefits, he says, is 1 is preventing bad things from happening, because we're going to be visualising negative things, we might start to recognise when bad things are happening and we can try and prevent it. Number 2 is to be prepared when they do happen. So because you're not taken aback, you're not surprised by it, you've thought about it before, so you're much more prepared to cope with whatever negative things come your way. And number 3 is that as humans, we're insatiable. We've got an insatiable appetite. We work hard to get things, but once we get it, we soon lose I guess, the benefits that we derive from that, and we just want more. So by negative visualization, we either want less and we can be happy with what we've already got.
That's right. So what you are touching on there, which is a really cool point, which is hedonic adaptation. So as you were saying, there's a study he refers to in the book by Shane Frederick and George Lauer. There's some German dude studying lottery winners. So winning lottery usually allows people to live the life of their dreams, which makes sense. But after the initial exhilaration, lottery winners end up being about as happy as they previously were.
Yeah, exactly.
So they might buy the new Ferrari and the new mansion, but then they started taking it for granted the way they previously took the rusted out, first car, pickup truck for granted. So what negative visualization is it's like an antidote to this adaptation, because rather than wanting things you don't have, you turn that on its head and you start appreciating the things you already have. So then you get happy with that pickup truck, and you realise that Ferrari, you're just going to end up after owning it, you're going to end up adapting to whatever that pleasure was, and you'll end up back at square one anyway.
Yeah, for sure. And just to tie that together, he says that a smaller example than the lottery is like if you buy a TV, the next TV you want to buy, you're going to want it to be bigger.
Yeah.
And you're going to always want it to be bigger. Whereas using negative visualization is like, well, if I lost that TV, that'd obviously be bad. So you can be satisfied with the current size TV you've got, or whether it's a more expensive handbag or a new brand, you always want it. We always want more. We've got this insatiable desire for more and more and more. And he calls it the satisfaction treadmill.
Yeah.
Where we just keep going and want more.
It's never ending, is it?
It's never ending.
Unless
you're stoic.
Yeah, unless you're stoic.
Yeah.
Mate, I reckon this is one of the hardest things. It's probably hard to realise, but one of the most valuable things to ever learn and really internalise, because once you realise, or you're happy with what you got, you're not going to go on this treadmill and this never-ending treadmill of ups and downs and all arounds, and working all life for things that you don't actually even want or aren't going to provide sustained happiness.
And what he says as well is that we're currently living the dream. He says that the life we're living now, 10 years ago, this was our dream pretty much. Now 10 years ago, to have a job that's paying us an average wage, and we've got a car and we've got nice things that we can buy, and we can, we've got a group of friends that we can go out and have fun with. We're living the dream.
Yep.
So, but we're always looking for that next thing. We're not happy with what we've got at the moment.
Yep.
It says even if you're not living the dream, things can always get worse.
That's right.
Yeah.
So one other thing with negative visualization. So the benefits from negative visualization are consistent with what people go through after a disaster or a catastrophe.
Yeah.
So if someone has a near-death experience or whatever, they end up going away from that feeling like, they start appreciating everything a lot more after that. So this is a way of hacking that kind of trend and getting the benefits from a near-death experience or something like that without actually having the big problem in your life.
Yeah, for sure. And another thing like that, he talks about saying grace before a meal. Not that Stoicism's a religious thing and that you don't have to call it saying grace, but just being thankful that you've got a meal on the table. The other thing he says, be the user of the gifts of fortune, but not the slave to them. In that when we buy things, we're the slave, and that we have to make more money to buy more things. And instead, we should enjoy what we've got without clinging to it, because it's a Buddhist principle, I guess, is that we shouldn't cling to impermanent things.
Yep. Yeah, bang on, man. So that
was a long section, but it was probably this and the following are probably the two biggest ones up from the book, I reckon.
Yep.
The dichotomy of control, or what he actually then spins into a trichotomy of control. So we need to determine, do a bit of a stock take of our lives and things that happen day to day, and put it into one of three categories. One is that we have no control over it. Two is that we have complete control over it. And three is that we have some control over it, but not complete control.
Yep, that's right.
And obviously, if we've got complete control over it, that's good. We should worry about it. If we've got no control about it, don't even think about it. If you can't control it, just don't bother.
So he talks about the importance of setting internal goals rather than external goals.
Yeah.
So say if you're playing a tennis match, you might have one person's goal, which is external, is to win the match, where you have some control over it. Whereas if you set an internal goal, the goal will be for you to do the very best you can.
Yeah.
And that's something you have complete control over and complete responsibility over.
Spot on. And it sort of almost doesn't sound too good coming out now, but he says to be happy, we should strive for things that are easy to obtain. So I guess it's almost like lowering your standards a bit, but it's not really lowering your standards, it's just focusing on what you can control.
Yeah.
And so the things that he says that we have complete control over are our values, the goals we set, so like you said, making internal goals, not external, and our character and our personal qualities. So they're the things that we can control. That's exactly like 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, the Circle of Influence versus Circle of Control. 13 things mentally strong people don't do, talked about it as well.
It comes up all the time, yeah.
This is a big one, yeah. If you can't impact it, if you can't control it, don't spend your time worrying about it.
Yeah, that's right. And he says in the book, you might be convinced that Stoics have got no ambition, because all these things are just like leading to you think they got no ambition. But one of the byproducts of Stoicism, he says, doesn't really say why, but is overachievement and a lot of success.
Yeah.
But yeah,
definitely.
So chapter 6, which is fatalism, letting go of the past and the present. So he talks about what you need to do is learn to love what fate has placed around us. So we must welcome whatever falls into our lot and persuade ourselves that whatever happens to us is for the best to be satisfied. Yeah,
for sure. And so that's, as you said, that's letting go of the present. And letting go of the past is don't waste your time on if only thoughts. So, if only I had have tried a bit harder, or if only I had have spoken to that girl at the bar. You can't change the past, so stop worrying about it.
Yep. It says Marcus Aurelius, or how do you spell it? Something like that. Marcus Aurelius, which was a real big dog back in the day in the Roman Empire. He says the only thing we own is this moment. So it's pretty huge. Like, that's it. This is it. If you can't learn to be satisfied in this moment right now, and you're always waiting for this thing that's going to come in the future or something that fucked you in the past, you really got no hope. You got to learn this is it.
Yeah.
Be happy with it. Whatever it is, whatever's around you, enjoy that.
Yeah.
And that's huge for Stoicism. Very, very similar to Buddhism.
Yeah.
Buddhism, that point as well.
Yeah, nice. Chapter 7, self-denial on dealing with the dark side of pleasure. So this is saying that if we can deny ourselves, and this came up in Buddhist boot camp as well, if we can deny ourselves of every little craving that we have, if we don't give in to every single little craving, practicing a little bit of self-denial will lead to far superior self-control.
Yeah, that's it's on that point again of like our evolutionary programming is just go after everything you have pleasure with, and then this is kind of taking a step back, using your reason to think, hang on, is that going to actually help me, or can I do things a bit differently? And practice self-control to make better decisions. Yeah,
and he also says that try and widen your comfort zone by practicing discomfort. So maybe it's, instead of having a big steak and veggies, just have a rice and beans one night. And maybe it's a simple food, and it might be a little bit uncomfortable at the start, but it's something you can definitely live with. And then obviously that's sort of almost practicing the worst case scenario, that if you don't have enough money to buy steak and veggies, then you'll still be comfortable eating rice and beans.
So an extreme version of that is practicing poverty, which is pretty cool. We should do that one day, mate. Go out, be homeless.
You said just one day a week, just wear your old ratty clothes, walk around, eat the cheapest food you possibly can, and maybe sleep on the street.
Mate, we dress like bums anyway, I reckon. We got no fucking arm.
Yeah, true. We're not fashion by any means.
Yeah, thanks. Chapter 10, so he talks about social relations on dealing with other people. So another thing that comes up a lot in good books is when we befriend people with corrupt values, they can contaminate ours. So be careful who you hang out with or who you're friends with, because they'll fuck you up.
He says avoid complainers, avoid people who whine, and avoid people with vices. So if you're a group of friends, if their vices, you work all week and then go and get absolutely hammered on a Friday night, obviously that's a big vice. But and if you're associated with that group, then you'll probably do the same.
Yep.
I'm speaking also in the first person here. That's me.
Yeah. Also, difficult to get out of habits like that, I think. So
yeah, definitely.
Probably the hardest. But chapter 11
By the way, we're in part 3 here as well. So part 2 was the broader principles, and part 3 is applying to specifics.
Yeah.
So yeah, sorry, mate, go on.
So he's got some pretty cool stuff with how to deal with insults. So if someone who you don't respect insults you, then you should actually feel good and reply with, "I'm relieved that you feel that way about me."
Yeah, it sounds a bit lame, doesn't it? But that's what he says.
Mate, yeah, you probably caught more shit after saying that.
So basically, he says think of where the insult's coming from, and if it's someone you respect, like he used the example of he started trying to learn the banjo. So when his banjo teacher said that was no good, it's not an insult so much. You should take that as a positive because it's someone you respect, someone he's paying to give him insults essentially. Whereas, as you say, if it's someone you don't respect, then yeah, you shouldn't stress about it.
And probably a slightly better example is if someone gives you shit, refuse to respond to the insult, and that is the most effective response because like you're robbing them of the pleasure of having upset you. So in turn, they're more likely to be the one upset.
Yeah, for sure. I think if someone's insulting you, probably their purpose or their goal is to upset you. And they're expecting you to counter insult them, and that's their sign that they've won. If you felt bad enough to insult them back, that's a win for them. But for you, he says a good way is to respond with humour, self-deprecating humour. Tough to do, but effective. And
he says this is kind of linking to the last chapter. He says one of the best benefits for him is how he deals with the insults. He kind of just embraces them, welcomes them in, and they don't really affect him at all.
Yeah, he looks now at insults as an opportunity to practice not being affected by insults, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that's it. Another similar thing to Buddhism there, which is, as you can probably tell, is
a bit of crossover, yeah.
Yeah,
bit of a Venn diagram.
Stoicism's like the analytical version of Buddhism. The Buddhism is already pretty analytical, so yeah, quite similar. Chapter 12, mate, grief. You want to shoot us with that?
Yeah, so the main thing here was saying that he told a story about, a woman whose son had passed away, and 3 years later, she was still feeling the same amount of grief as she did the day he passed away. And obviously, that was not a good 3 years to live. So he says, tying back to negative visualization. So before we spoke about prospective visualization, which is thinking, what would happen if I lost this? Whereas he says here, retrospective negative visualization is saying, well, I'm obviously sad that this person's passed away and they're no longer in my life, but I'm very happy of the past years that I got to spend with them, and my life would have been a lot worse if I never had that time with them.
Yep.
So yeah, obviously, if you lose someone, it's no good, but be thankful for the time that you did have with them.
I love it. Fucking love it. Chapter 14. Personal values on seeking fame. So this is pretty. I think a lot of people you're hardwired to want to be popular, want to be famous, and all of that. But what the Stoics do is they value freedom, obviously, but they're reluctant to give away their power. So if you're seeking this social status or this fame, you're letting other people have power over you, which is bad for Stoics.
Yeah, for sure. They say fame comes at a price, and that price is, as you say, if you're wanting to be famous, whether that's in a small circle or worldwide, then you're putting, as you say, you're giving your power to other people because you're going to change yourself, your personality, your actions, and you're going to do things that you think that they're going to approve of. Yeah, so that's obviously a negative.
Yeah.
Good
stuff. Chapter 15, personal values on luxurious living, seeking wealth, or just like being rich, basically.
Yeah. They say there's natural desires and there's unnatural desires. So natural desires is obviously, I'm thirsty, I desire water. I'm hungry, I desire food. And then unnatural desires aren't things that we definitely need. It's things like, I want a nice fancy car to show off to everyone then so I can live a luxurious life.
Yeah. So a really cool quote here is towards the start of the chapter, and it's very obvious, but you're not really, again, biologically inclined to think like this, but not needing wealth is a lot more valuable than wealth itself. You're not going to end up on that hedonic adaptation treadmill. Yep. If you don't need the wealth, you're just like, yep, sweet, pickup truck, fine, let's go to the bar and order a cheap beer.
Yeah. And that's what they say is that if in the past you were pretty happy with a nice fancy mac and cheese for dinner, but then he says once you're starting to strive for that luxurious living, you're going to lose the delight that you gain from simple things, and you're only going to be happy with going out to a fancy restaurant.
That's right. Chapter 21, Stoicism Reconsidered.
So we're into part 4.
Yep, part 4.
Which is the last bit, I guess, tying it all together.
Yeah, that's right. So again, this goes a lot into our evolutionary biology, and that's how it's made us insatiable, which I guess we covered at the start. But is there anything else you want to include in chapter 20?
Yeah, so part of that evolutionary thing was they say that an idea, I guess, of that is that we enjoy things like sex, and that's because the people who enjoyed sex had more sex, and they're the ones that reproduced. So if there was someone that didn't enjoy sex, then they wouldn't have sex, they wouldn't reproduce, so then that trait wouldn't be carried on through evolution. So that's one thing, yeah.
Yeah.
Basically, I guess a few of the things to tie it all together is become self-aware, use reasoning to overcome negative emotions. You said that despite you don't want to pursue wealth, but if you find yourself to be wealthy, then you should enjoy it. He says other people are always going to be annoying, so choose who you spend time with, but don't let someone annoy you and upset your tranquility.
Yep.
Yeah. Any
Good shit.
things to tie it together?
Yeah. Then chapter 22 kind of wraps it all up with practicing Stoicism. So he talks again about the benefits he's had in his life, a lot of it, and we talked about him being an insult connoisseur. So you copy insult, taste it, and you'll feel good. And then what I really liked about this chapter is he talks about the battle between two selves. And so the one self is like on evolutionary autopilot, and this one's seeking comfort, lacks self-discipline, and always take the path of least resistance. It's a single-minded pleasure seeker, and he's also a coward. And he says he's also not my friend. So his whole goal of Stoicism, or using reasoning, is to have complete dominance over this evolutionary fucking coward thing, which is really going to get you nowhere in life. Yeah. So to do this, he says he must cause him to experience discomfort he could have easily have avoided, and to prevent him from experiencing these little comfortable pleasures.
Yeah, for cool sure. Shit. Another one he said is to start off with is be a bit of stealth stoicism, or be a closet stoic, because if you go and tell your friends, "Oh, I'm now a stoic," they'll be like, either "What the fuck's that?" or they'll be like, "What is that? The thing that the ancient Greeks and Romans did in 300 BC? What the hell are you doing?" They'd think you'd lost the plot. Yeah. But he says things like negative visualization you can do. No one will even know. And I guess in summary, some of the biggest things, the trichotomy of control is Mate, Marcus Aurelius said, "Nothing is worth doing pointlessly, and the pointless things are the things that you've got no control over, so don't bother about that."
Yeah, I think closet stoic is the way to go. I'm not going to be going around posting on Facebook, "I'm a stoic."
Yeah.
Come join my tribe, all that shit.
Oh, mate, a couple of other things I like. Sorry, I just saw here.
Yeah.
He said anger is like a mosquito bite. At the time, you really want to scratch that bite, so you scratch it, but afterwards, you really regret scratching it. So it's sort of like anger. If you get angry at something, it might feel good at the time to have that release, but afterwards, you just think, what a waste. And you've just disrupted yourself.
Yeah.
He's also a collector of butterflies. Sorry, mate.
Yeah.
He's also a collector of butterflies. You see, he likes doing things that give you the butterflies in the stomach, and it's just practicing overcoming fear. Yeah,
that's right. So that's a huge thing to do. And again, he talks about a Rolex watch. So there was a time he was walking through the shopping centre one day, and there's people looking at watches and all that. And he says there was a time in his life where he could understand why someone would want a Rolex. But now being a Stoic, all this behaviour just puzzles him. So I think this philosophy would be huge for people around the world, because we're in so much debt. The whole globe it's fucked with debt.
It's not cool.
And in such financial trouble. And we're always in the rush of buying something and thinking it's going to contribute to the long-term happiness. Much like a heroin addict takes a hit for the long-term happiness.
Yeah.
So it's like when you see people in a shopping centre go around buying things, they're not, just realise they're not buying, they're going to be long-term happy. They're going to be more like a heroin addict, just responding to these evolutionary impulses to buy shit, really.
Yeah, for sure.
Mate.
Good book.
Heavy shit, yeah, deep shit.
Good book. I really like this because obviously all these Stoic philosophers from ancient Greece and ancient Rome 2,000 years ago, if you read this is, I guess, a secondary text in that he's read all the primary texts and distilled the best info for us to read in this secondary text, because it'll be an uphill battle to try and read through all the ancient Roman, ancient Greek primary text and try and distill this info for ourselves. So this is really good.
Mate, we haven't learned a lot in the last 2,000 years, have we?
That's true, mate.
If people haven't... This is fucking good stuff.
This is good stuff.
It's been around for 2,000 years. Rather than people taking this on, they've gone the other way and, not really learned much from guys like Seneca.
And just to clear it, is there anything else you got?
Nah, man.
No, cool. Just to clear it up, it's called A Guide to the Good Life, not A Guide to the Goed Wife, if you're living in the Netherlands and just misheard the pronunciation. I think I butchered the pronunciation again, but it means vagina woman in Dutch.
Yeah. Mate, you just keep trying to plug it. You just keep plugging it.
Let's sing, mate. Let's
sing it.
Doesn't feel good, baby, yeah.
You can be Irvine, the ancient artist of joy.
Don't worry about the hedonic treadmill of adaptation. Get off and just enjoy yourself. Do negative visualization.
Internalize your goals. Don't rely on other people, cause they're going to annoy you.
Other people just have evolutionary programming. Don't worry about that. Just reason, baby, just reason.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. The guide to the good life, not the good drive.
The present is all that you own. The present is all that you own. Marcus Aurelius told us that 2,000 years ago. Listen to the man.
Don't seek fame and don't seek wealth. But if you get it, then you can enjoy it.
Just enjoy the insults. Be a connoisseur of the insults. What a lot of good wine.
Don't let yourself get angry. That's just gonna fuck up your day.
Look at those people buying that Rolex watch. What they gonna do with that shit? They're gonna keep buying a better watch. They're not gonna enjoy the shit that they do.
Trichotomy of Control. There's just 3 things that you can do. Number 1 is the things that you got no control over. Number 2 is the things you've got complete control over.
That's number 3.
And number 3 is the things that you got some control over, but not complete control over.
Got to the good life, yeah, yeah, yeah. Got to the good life, yeah, yeah, yeah. Got to the good life, yeah, yeah, yeah. Motherfucking good